Dazzling sky melts into the landscape. Two still houses move along a walkway, and a ghostly picture features extends in agony. Stein's Norwegian artist Edvard Munch created the scream in 1893. It's become one of of the world's most famous artwork. But why has this cry traveled so far and endured so long? Munch was born in 1863, one of the five children. Tuberculosis de- devastated Europe throughout the 18th, killing almost a quarter of all adults. It took Munch's mother's life, then his elder sister. Soon after Munch had his own bout of the disease, another of his sisters experiences mental illness and lived much of her life ill and in institutions. Meanwhile, Munch faded in and out of school due to illness, often spending days at home, drawing and listening to the ominous stories his father read aloud. A devout Lutheran, his father considered Munch's artistic ambition unholy. I inherited the seeds of madness. Munch wrote. The angel of fear, sorrow, and death stood by my side. Signed the day I was born. Eventually, Munch moved to Berlin, where he frequented creative circles, committed to breaking with academic traditions, and instead developing their craft organically. While Munch had trained classically, he had begun impressing himself in what he called soul painting, compositions that prize raw, subjective effect over realistic rendering. It's not the chair that should be painted, he wrote, but what a person has felt at the sight of it. Many of Munch works dealt with personal suffering. This may This may have also led to what certain critics observe as a portrayal of women in works where Munch represented them as cruel predator victimizing helpless men. And that of haunted Munch compositions, from a skeleton humming a boat to a more burst self-portrait. And his sister's final moment to a mother on her deathbed, her child assuming a now familiar expressions. Much art generated con- conversely, some critics characterizing him as absolutely demented, but it also drew acclaim. And what should become his most famous work was just around the corner. The scream was inspired by a moment that overwhelmed Munch with an acute sense of anguish. In the Dairy and Chai Market, January 2022, 1892. Munch described walking with two friends along a ford, overlooking was now also at sunset. He leaned against a fence, exhausted, as he saw the sky change suddenly. He described lit and tongues of fire above the blue-black fort and the city. As his friend walked on, Munch Road stood there trembling with an anxiety, and senses in an infinite scream passing through nature. As with other painful experiences, Munch the scenes repeatedly. First, he depicted it with a more recognizable human subject. But the following year, he surrendered it to dramatic, abstractive symbolism. The haunting experience on the finger's skull-like face, meaning the viewer gazed erratically. On this first version, he added a suitable inscription: could only have been painted by a madam. Based on Munch accounts, many think the feature isn't anything strict, but reacting to it, Munch eventually made four versions of the screen, all on the cardboard, two with pastel, two with paint, and he created numerous prints and lithographs. The year following by the first screen, he decided the same things, but featured a collection of despairing faces. In late 1893, Munch premiered the screen at also exhibit in Berlin. The artwork looked compositions helpful of the expressionist movement, which likewise emphasizes dark physiological states, mapping the emotional contour of World War One and beyond. The screen continued its crescendo when it entered the public domain in the mid-19th. New renditions and productions polished its frames. It featured in popular films during 1990s, and both painted versions of the screen were stolen and recovered. In separate hits in 1994 and 2004, soon enough it was a widely accepted archetypal symbol for honor and angels. A scream inspired emoji was eventually impaled, and considering how to more heteros sites so far off future generations could know to avoid them. The US government has considered using the screen expressions While its rape culture influences may not always affect the personal agony much intently rendered, the scream has certainly found a near universal echo.